with real gratitude to Sharon Rhodes-Wickett for the testimony that she has given, and also to Bishop Toole for his witness and the sharing that he has given. I want to pause for a moment and on behalf of the Wheatley family to welcome all of our colleague bishops who are here and their families, and to let you know something about those who are here. That we have here the bishops of the Western jurisdiction and their families, and also Bishop Ray Chamberlain representing the Council of Bishops, who has come from the Southeastern jurisdiction to be with us as well, along with his wife Martha. And it's so wonderful that the clergy are here, and that those of you who are a part of the community and meant so much to Mel and Lucille have come to be here today, come from places near and far. And it was a special treasure to see Nobuko and Bob Miyake Stoner coming from Hawaii, as Mel and Lucille were such an incredible witness and mentor in Nobuko's life. It is a privilege for me simply to join the chorus of those who are honoring one whom Bishop Marvin Stewart once described as the gentle prophet. Bishop Roy Sano wrote last week, and he agreed and said that the gentle prophet is perhaps the best description of the heart of Mel Wheatley's ministry. He wanted to be with us here today, and Bishop Sano wrote to describe a particularly vivid example of the courageous ministry that Mel and Lucille had during World War II. Roy Sano had a personal, direct experience with the fearful and the threatening climate during the war years, when the Japanese-American families were threatened with vandalism, and when Roy, as a young boy, was awakened at night with gunfire, and when they were evacuated to the internment camp and they filled the church basement with their household values. But you know, they never saw any of those things ever again. Well, it was in that climate that Mel and Lucille were serving as a pastoral family in Northern California, and they moved out of their parsonage and into the home of a Japanese-American family so that they could protect this home from vandalism, or even worse. That was the extraordinarily brave act, a stunning witness and a concrete gesture of outrage against the violence, and a compassionate outreach towards the Japanese Americans who were being displaced to the camps. It was that same kind of spirit that you've already heard testimony about this afternoon, that gentle prophet who stood alongside the blacks in the midst of the tension-ridden 1960s, and again in support of the gay and lesbian community, all of it forming a long and continuous history of courageous and costly gestures of love and of integrity to the gospel. You heard Bishop Toole describe the Council of Bishops meeting in 1978, when Mel explained to his colleagues why he could not and would not sign that Episcopal address as they had prepared it. And many have told me in the years following that he said, "I can stand alone when I must, as we stand together when we can." And it was because of his earlier witness that I was able to join the 15 bishops in the 1996 who were seeking to change the Book of Discipline and eliminate that destructive language against gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgendered people. When the Wheatleys were the leaders in the Rocky Mountain and the Yellowstone Annual Conference from 1972 to 1984, they were so well loved. The people of the Rockies deeply loved them and admired their prophetic witness. Roy Sano followed them there, and I was privileged to follow Roy Sano, and then Warner Brown followed after that, and now Elaine Stanovsky is there. And Bishop Cal McConnell, who is here with us, served under the Wheatleys before he became a bishop in 1980. They will all tell you how the people of the Rockies so loved them and so admired their witness. They made a difference for all of us who have followed, and we have benefited from their role. And it was at that 1980 General Conference in Indianapolis when Bishop Wheatley preached a sermon that received a standing ovation, and 29 years later, people are still quoting that sermon. He was giving a new twist to the story of Mary and Martha and saying that dishpan hands and dreamy eyes are both needed as we hold idealism and realism together in creative tension. He said that Jesus listened to God's still small voice, but agonized at the size of the oppressed people. He fed bread to the hungry, but he said people did not live by bread alone. And then after telling the story of the keeper of the lighthouse, he concluded by saying, "See that you give not away the oil of your lamp, be it ever so small. Let your gift be the flame of enthusiasm for witnessing, compassion for those starving for bread, and those who eat cake by the carload, but whose affluent emptiness leaves them hungering for meaning." And speaking of himself, he once said, "If I must be known for something, I'd rather be known as an advocate for the people than the opposite." Someone here in the Westwood congregation once said about him, "The greatest thing that Mel did for me was to live so convincingly dedicated to a Christ-like God that the things he touched and did with a sermon or a human heart were forever lifted to a higher plane." This is the heart of the gentle prophet, whose life and witness we celebrate today. So I want to close by saying something about church that he said as all of us continue to try to live and be church in our time. He said we are to be a fellowship organized to minister to the needs of persons in the spirit of Jesus. We are to help persons to help themselves, to accept the claim of a Christ-like God. And the essence of that claim? To realize to the limits of their potential their capacities to love God, to love their neighbors fully, and to love themselves freely. Praise be to God for the life and witness of Mel Wheatley.